There was a man who had everything. Wealth that stretched to the horizon. Children who filled his home with laughter. A heart so clean and faithful that his name was known in the heavens. Then, in a single day, the fields went silent. The children were gone. The wealth disappeared like morning mist. And the man was left sitting in the dust, with nothing but the strength of his faith between him and total destruction. This is the story of Job. And before it's over, you will understand something about patience and God that most people never learn in a lifetime. Job was not just a wealthy man, he was a righteous man. Every morning before the sun fully rose, he was already in prayer. Every blessing that came to him, he gave thanks for. Every neighbor who came to him in need, he helped without question.
Peace be upon you. May this sustain you. Thank you, honored sir. May your harvest be plentiful.
His character was his identity, and his trust in God was the foundation everything else was built on. He did not worship God because life was easy. He worshiped God because he knew with complete certainty who had given him every single thing he had. But the enemy of man, Satan, the accuser, the one who had refused to bow and had chosen pride over obedience, looked at Job and made a claim. He whispered into the unseen, "This man only worships because of what he has been given. Remove the blessings, take away the comfort, and watch how quickly that faith crumbles." It was a challenge built on arrogance and hatred, the same pride that had cast the enemy out in the first place. He had been wrong about humanity before. He was wrong about Job now. He just didn't know it yet. The first messenger arrived at a run. The livestock had been taken, all of it. The wealth Job had built over decades, gone in a single afternoon. Before that man had finished speaking, a second messenger arrived behind him, then a third. One disaster after another, reported in the same hour, from every direction at once.
It is true, the horde is vast beyond measure. Look to the sky. The end is near. We must flee this place now.
In the span of a single afternoon, Job went from one of the wealthiest men in his land to a man with nothing but the clothes on his back.
The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord.
Then came the news no parent can prepare for. His children were gone. In a single moment, the laughter that had filled his home for years fell permanently silent. This was the moment the enemy expected everything to fall apart. This was the moment most people would have turned their face away from heaven and asked why.
Why do you turn away? Do not leave me in this darkness!
Job did something different. He wept. He grieved. He did not pretend the pain was not real. It was real, and it was devastating. But in the deepest moment of loss he had ever faced, his first act was still worship. Not because the pain was small, because his faith was larger than the pain. Then the trial reached his body. Painful sores broke out across his entire skin. He had no medicine, no comfort. He sat in the dust outside the place that used to be his home, broken in body, stripped of everything the world calls success. And yet, something in him refused to break at the center. The wealth was gone. The children were gone. The health was gone. But the man himself, the part of him that faced God in prayer every morning, that part was still standing. Even the person closest to him reached her limit. She was not a wicked woman. She was a grieving mother and a desperate wife who could not bear to watch the man she loved suffer any further. Her pain made her say something she did not truly mean. Job looked at her, and instead of breaking, he spoke gently. Job, you speak as one who has lost hope. Should we accept only good things from God and not difficulty too? He did not condemn her. He understood her, but he would not let her grief become his surrender. 3 friends came, and for 7 full days they did the right thing. They sat with him in silence. They did not try to explain it. They did not offer answers. They just stayed. That was the right thing. But on the 8th day, they opened their mouths, and everything went wrong. They told him he must have sinned. That suffering at this scale could only mean he had done something to deserve it.
This suffering is proof of your guilt. There is no righteousness in you. Confess your sin! The Almighty does not pervert justice.
That God only punishes the guilty, and that if Job was suffering this greatly, the fault must be his own. They dressed their ignorance in the language of religion and called it wisdom. Job rejected all of it. He knew his own heart, and he refused to confess to sins he had not committed just to satisfy the theological comfort of men who had never suffered the way he had.
I swear by the Lord, my integrity is my witness.
What Job did next is one of the most remarkable things in all of Scripture. He didn't pretend. He didn't perform patience for an audience. He spoke to God with the full weight of his pain.
How can you argue with the Almighty? He afflicts the wicked, Job. Confess your sin. My Redeemer lives, and in my flesh I shall see God.
Honestly, openly, completely. He asked why. He said the suffering felt unbearable. He poured every drop of his grief and confusion directly upward, holding nothing back. And this raw, unfiltered honesty was not a failure of faith. It was the deepest expression of it. He spoke to God because he had nowhere else to take it. He complained to God because he still believed God was listening. Then God answered, not with an explanation, not with an apology, but with something far more powerful: presence. A voice from within the whirlwind that asked Job a question that reframed everything. Where were you when I laid the foundation of the earth? Who determined its measurements? Have you entered into the springs of the sea, or walked in the recesses of the deep? Can you bind the chains of the stars, or loose the belt of Orion? Question after question, each one larger than the last, not to humiliate Job, but to remind him of the scale of the one he was speaking to, the God who answers hurricanes, who commands the morning, who set the boundaries of the ocean with nothing but a word. This was not a God who owed anyone an explanation. This was a God before whom the only honest response was awe. Job, I had heard of you with my ears, but now my eyes have seen you. That was the moment. Not the restoration of wealth, not the return of health. The moment Job said, I heard about you my whole life. Now I actually know you. The trial had taken everything from him and given him something no amount of comfort could ever have produced: a direct, unmediated encounter with the living God. God restored everything Job had lost and doubled it. But that is almost beside the point, because Job had already passed through the deepest human question. Can a person hold on to faith when there is nothing left to hold on to? Can a person worship God not for what they receive, but simply because He is God? Job answered that question. With his body in ruins, his home empty, his friends wrong, and the silence of heaven pressing down on him? Job answered yes. And that yes is why his name is still being spoken thousands of years later. Which part hit you hardest? The moment his wife told him to give up, the friends who made it worse, or the whirlwind? Tell me in the comments. And subscribe, because next we are going into the fiery furnace. 3 men who refused to bow, and the 4th figure the king saw walking with them inside the flames.